Sounds like a plan. We good? Are we good, Gavin?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. All right, so quorum's established. This was great. It's perfect. We can continue on with this stuff. So let's get started. Let's start with the roll call. Susan, please.
Okay, District 1, still vacant. District 2,
Present.
District 3,
Present.
District 4. No, not yet.
I forget who's that.
That's Laura Gromas.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
District 5. No, Lucio. I see you, District 6, Stephen.
Present.
I'm here. Mayoral, I have Melanie
Present.
and Phil.
Right here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
I believe we got an email from Laura, right, Melanie, saying she wasn't going to make it this.
Yes, that sounds familiar. I think you're right. We did get an email.
Yeah, I from what I remember in our emails last couple of weeks, she said she might not make it. So that's I mean, you know, wish she was here, but we do have quorum, so that makes it even better. So let's go to the approval of the minutes from June 23rd. I looked it over. Did anybody else have a chance to look it over? Are there any corrections that need to be made? I don't know. There were a lot of them. So I might have missed something. Anyone? Nothing. Okay. Anyone have a motion to approve the minutes for June 23rd?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I'll
Sounds good.
second.
Thank you, Susan. Second by Melanie.
Okay.
Anyone opposed to approving the minutes? All right. In that case, the minutes will pass. So we got those. We got that established. Next on to our approval of the agenda for this month. Anyone want to add anything? Have any questions, comments, remove any items, pull any items? Let me know. Excellent. So let's get a motion to approve the agenda for this month.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Destiny. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Susan. Anyone opposed? All right, so the agenda is good to go. We move to our unscheduled communications at this point. So we have some attendees. Should you choose to address the committee, please raise your hand. We'll give you 3 minutes to address the committee. Obviously, we're not going to be talking about anything about the agenda or on the agenda at this time. So we'll get to that in a minute. So if you have anything that doesn't pertain to the agenda at this time, you have 3 minutes to be recognized. And we have one hand up right now, Tony Molina. So Tony, you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Hi, yeah, there's just a point of order. I just got a text from the speaker, Ali Geller, and she just wanted to make sure she had logged in properly because she didn't see herself. So I'm assuming you've got her logged in and she will be able to turn her camera on. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't see, I have a number and I have walk SF. That's all we have.
Yeah, so that's probably her.
Okay.
So, okay. So, okay, great. I just wanted to make sure she connected there. So, okay, that's all. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. Anyone else from from our attendees would like to address for the next 3 minutes before we head to the our regular business here? Cool. All right. So our first agenda item is a presentation, Families for Safe Streets. And I'm going to give that over to, I guess this is collaboration with Destiny and Matthew to set up this presentation. I'm going to hand it over to Matthew, who volunteered to introduce the presentation. So go ahead, Matthew.
All right. So this presentation will be given by Ali Geller from Walk SF, and she is the Vision Zero Engagement Director with that organization. And looking forward to seeing her presentation in just a second. Good evening.
Hi,
I think
everyone.
you're on. Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for including me tonight. Shall I share my screen? How should we do this?
Yeah, I think Gavin can give you control, or somebody can give you control to present your screen, your presentation.
Okay.
All the panelists have the ability to share their screen, so she should be
Okay.
set.
On the
Okay,
very
great.
bottom, it's just share your screen there. There you go.
Can you see it?
Yep.
All right, great. Let me just orient myself. My printer's broken, so I'll be reading off my phone. So I don't think you'll be looking at me anyway, so that's fine. So I want to thank you all for including me tonight. My name is Ali Geller. I am the Vision Zero Engagement Manager over at Walk San Francisco. And the majority of my job is to manage our Families for Safe Streets group of advocates. And that's what I will be talking about this evening. The Families for Safe Streets group of advocates, they're made up of people who have been injured in a crash or who've lost a loved one or a friend in a crash, and even people who've witnessed a crash and have been traumatized. We support crash victims through emotional support gatherings, capacity building, and we provide opportunities for people to advocate on behalf of safe streets, which many people find very empowering. We'll talk a little bit about that later. So this is why every one of us is a pedestrian, even if those of us who drive a lot, not including myself, but the minute you step out of your car, of course, you are a pedestrian too. So today I'm here to tell you about the work we're doing to make all of us safer on our streets. Here's an advocate many of you likely know. This is Joe Martinez, who is an honorary San Francisco Bay Area Families for Safe Streets member. He schlepped all the way out from Fresno to our recent World Day of Remembrance, not so recent actually, it was almost a year ago. And he lost his son Paul to a speeding driver, as I'm sure you all know. And he is just one example of far too many people. The pain that these crashes cause is unfathomable. Every one of these photos represents a life that has been lost or radically changed due to a crash. These are parents, grandparents, children, husbands, wives, and friends. Too often, these crashes are dismissed as accidents, or worse, victims are blamed for not being careful enough. And the reality is that dangerous driving is common. Our speed limits are set too high, and many of our streets don't adequately protect people walking and biking, especially our most vulnerable. In addition to these losses, approximately 600 pedestrians in San Francisco, and frankly, likely a lot more than that, are severely injured in crashes every year. These are events that can be life-changing. They can strain family relationships, they can end careers. And here's a picture of one of our advocates, Jenny Yu. Her mom, Judy, was a wage earner, proud mother and grandmother whose life was nearly ended, but she's now quite incapacitated, and her children now care for her full-time. And this is a woman named Amy Cohen. Some of you may have heard this name. Amy lost her 12-year-old son, Sammy, to a crash in 2014. And she started our very first Families for Safe Streets group of advocates in New York. And she wanted to shine a light on what was really happening on our streets, and she wanted to prevent more tragedies. Amy learned that every day in this country, about 100 people are lost to crashes. And she wanted to understand why this happened. So she started Families for Safe Streets. And as you can see, I mean, it is New York, but they got to work real quickly. And we'll talk about speed in a little while, but this is one of the first big campaigns that they successfully undertook to lower speed limits throughout the city. Here in the Bay Area, this is a woman named Julie Mitchell. She was asking many of the same questions as Amy Cohen. In 2013, Julie's 21-year-old son, Dylan, the oldest of 4 boys, was hit and killed by a speeding truck driver in San Francisco's Mission District. Julie didn't want Dylan's death to be in vain. She reached out to Amy Cohen, and she learned that Walk San Francisco was also exploring a Families for Safe Streets chapter. And Julie was instrumental in establishing establishing our Families for Safe Streets group in San Francisco in 2016. So Families for Safe Streets exists to support crash victims, families, and friends who have lost loved ones, and to empower those of us who have experienced traffic violence to push for change on our streets. As the home of San Francisco Bay Area Families for Safe Streets, Walk San Francisco provides funding, training, and direction for our advocates, as well as the emotional support to help sustain this emotionally challenging work. Here's how this powerful group collaborates with Walk San Francisco to use their experiences to prevent others from suffering as they have. So every fall we hold World Day of Remembrance in San Francisco. This is recently retired Supervisor Norman Yee, who established our chapter, funded us, just a true champion for Vision Zero and a true champion for Families for Safe Streets. And at our most recent World Day of Remembrance, that we'll talk about this event a little more in a minute, this is State Assemblyman David Chu placing a flower at the Chu Memorial that we created on the steps of City Hall. This memorial commemorated the nearly 200 crash fatalities that have occurred since the establishment of Vision Zero in 2014. And it was one of at least 10, and I feel like saying closer to 20, such memorials created throughout the country. We have about 16 Families for Safe Streets chapters at the moment, but even groups who were not officially Families for Safe Streets chapters decided that because we couldn't gather in person, we were going to do something really compelling. So it's pretty amazing to look at all of these memorials and just the largeness, the incredible extent of this problem through these displays. So here's how Families for Safe Streets is supporting advocacy to address this situation. Number one, we are focusing on speed. So other cities that have had the greatest success lowering crashes have more than anything focused on reducing speed. Speed makes crashes more likely. Higher driving speeds provide less time to process information and to act on it, and the braking distance is longer. Therefore, the possibility of avoiding a collision is smaller. And speed makes crashes much more severe when they do occur. The average pedestrian struck by a driver traveling 20 miles per hour has a 93% chance of surviving. But the risk of death continues to rise dramatically as driver speeds exceed 30 miles per hour. And at 40 miles per hour, most pedestrians will not survive. So in some cases, we focus on changing state law in order to manage our speeds locally. This year, Walk San Francisco and Families for Safe Streets have advocated for two state bills, AB 43 and AB 550, which you likely know AB 550 did not pass. AB 43 is still in the works. We not only focus on policies at the state and local levels, but advocate for our streets to be redesigned so people driving can't speed. And here are some of the ways that we are doing this in San Francisco. So we are implementing quick builds, which, as you likely know, are simple, cost-effective ways to re-engineer our streets and turn intersections into safer spaces by using paint, posts, rubber bumpers, traffic light changes, and signage. And because they don't involve pouring concrete, they can also be fast-tracked. Here is a pedestrian safety zone, and you can see how simple paint and posts are used to increase pedestrian visibility at the intersection and encourage drivers to turn more slowly. Another not so fun fact, that 40% of our traffic fatalities in 2019 in this city involved drivers making left turns. So the San Francisco MTA is currently piloting a left turn calming program to slow drivers and keep people in the crosswalk safer. Another really easy fix that prevents people in the crosswalk from being hit is daylighting. Just moving parking back a minimum of 10 feet from the crosswalk or intersection creates clear sight lines at intersections and can reduce crashes by up to 30%. We've been Walk San Francisco has been actually partnering with the SFMTA and sending out groups of volunteers to sort of identify intersections that could be daylit. And it's been a really wonderful project for our advocates and for the city. So we know why these crashes are happening, and we know where these crashes are happening, and we know we have the tools to prevent and eliminate them. But what we need is the political will to put these life-saving tools into action. So Families for Safe Streets pushes our decision makers to move from the status quo, where for too long we've prioritized speed and perceived convenience over safety. We fight to end these crashes because no death or life-altering injury is acceptable, and because we have the solutions. Our voices, and I say our because often an advocate is giving this presentation with me, but our advocates' voices are unique and powerful. And this quote is kind of the crux of why we have Families for Safe Streets, because family stories cut through all the statistics, they cut through the numbers, and they reach people in a different way. So some of the things our advocates do to share their stories: our advocates speak at city and state meetings and hearings. They collaborate with professionals, for example, emergency room physicians, to gain their support and partnership. We call attention to fatal crashes by staging memorials and doing community outreach at crash sites. And something that started before COVID, and now we're hopefully going to be picking up soon, is with every crash site, fatal crash site, we have a memorial that's placed. And I just finished creating consistent signage, and it's semi-permanent. So in some cases, it may stay up for 6 months at every single fatality crash site. And when we are able to gather a little bit more in person, we have, an advocate or two or more will come out to crash sites with a banner and talk with community members about that intersection, things they've experienced, and share the work we're doing. So it's both, a memorial and an opportunity to advocate and share the work that we're doing. And let's see what else. Wait. I don't want to miss anything. We also write opinion pieces, and actually Joe Martinez published an opinion piece you may have seen a few months ago. We had 3 this year, which is really good. Our advocates are, one of the things that we do for our advocates is we have capacity trainings. So we do public speaking and opinion writing and story writing. How do you share your story? And that these things are wonderful to be able to provide to people. It's one of the reasons I love my job so much, is to say, hey, we can empower you to do something about this. And because advocating and sharing these stories is more challenging than one can imagine. I know it's more challenging than I can imagine. we have a really robust support network. And we have 16, I think closer to 19 chapters nationally. And because COVID happened the way it did, it enabled us to start meeting nationally on Zoom. So now we have bi-monthly support groups on Zoom, as well as the emotional support activities that we have in San Francisco. In the photo on the left, you can see some of our advocates with some New York advocates. And then on the right, one of our members, Julie Nicholson, who literally a year before this photograph was taken, nearly died after she was hit by a car. She broke her neck and her back. A year later, she ran a half marathon to sort of honor her recovery and also help people to pay attention to all the intersections in San Francisco that needed, or not all of them, but many of the intersections that needed to be cared for. And she ran a half marathon. We put it out there and had over 100 responses. And so the majority of people ran a DIY marathon and posted because of COVID, but we had like 30 people running with her. And this is another one of our advocates, John Alex Lowell, also a survivor, greeting her at the finish line. And it was just an extraordinary event. And to see him supporting her was just very touching. And through that event, we also gained about 7 advocates. We had no idea how many runners had been hit. And now we've got a much better idea of that. So emotional support, camaraderie is a huge part of what Families for Safe Streets does. So we share this because we know that the epidemic of traffic crashes has a solution. Safe streets are vital, especially if we want San Francisco and any community to be the socially just place it aspires to be. And we know that the greatest number of crashes in San Francisco occur in neighborhoods, including, and I'll name some neighborhoods that you may not be familiar with, but south of Market and the Tenderloin, for example, where our most vulnerable residents live. And people of color, immigrants, seniors, and children, the disabled, are among those who are most likely to be hit or killed in a crash. And it's not acceptable. Which brings us to Vision Zero, which you will hear more about from Jesse Mintz-Roth next month. I like this slide because it really lays it out in a very simple way. This system mustn't fail because human beings are vulnerable, human beings are fallible, but the system doesn't have to be. So in one nutshell, that is what Vision Zero is about. And we know it works in European cities as well as Helsinki and Oslo. Helsinki and Oslo are the two who actually reached 0 fatalities, but cities in Europe and even in the United States are showing a lot of success with Vision Zero. I'm very well aware that that crashes are up everywhere right now, at least in this country. And I know we're looking deeply at why that's happening. Streets were more open during COVID and behavior was just appalling. But there's been a really wonderful track record with Vision Zero, and there's certainly no reason to turn back. So we can do it. And we can do it because it's possible. We all deserve safe streets. And that's why we're here. And that's why Families for Safe Streets is here. So I thank you. I encourage you to, sign up for our newsletter at Walk San Francisco, learn about some of the things we're doing, and certainly let me support you. If you want to create a Families for Safe Streets chapter, we have abundant materials and systems and things that I've been working on in the 2 years I've been with Walk San Francisco, and I would love to share them with you. And the national network is also really amazing as far as resources. So glad to answer any questions and share any resources.
Thank you, Ali, for your presentation, your time. I'll open it up to our members first before we go to the public, if they have any questions for Ali.
I have a question, Phil. I think, Ali, you said that you guys were able to establish the Vision Zero in 2014. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you tell me how long the process was for you to elicit enough support from your elected officials to get that done?
No, because it happened well before I got to San Francisco. But I know Jesse Mintz-Roth will be talking next month, and he established that in San Jose. And I would be glad to put you guys in touch with others in the Bay Area who worked on that.
Great, thank you.
Sorry, I can't help with that one.
That's okay. Thank you.
I can say that we had a supervisor who was extremely instrumental, and I didn't mention that Supervisor Yee is himself a crash survivor. So he was really the driving force.
So you had a good champion there to
We did.
advocate for you. Okay.
Very strong champion.
Awesome.
Anyone else besides Melanie have any questions for Allie and Walk SF or the chapter at this time? I'm trying to figure out how I can look at the participants again. Okay, here they are. All right, if no board members have, there we go. Any more questions? We'll see if the public has any. Tony does have a question. So Gavin, if you can give Tony the mic, please. Thanks.
Hi, Allie, thank you so much. That was a great presentation. I really appreciate your joining us here. And my question is about the memorials that are put up there. I guess what we thought about ghost bikes and things like that, but one of the concerns is that they kind of get cleaned away. And is there some agreement, the city street maintenance, that they'll be left for a certain amount of time, or what are the mechanics of doing that? Is there
We unfortunately don't have an agreement. However, we're in an interesting place because Walk San Francisco, partially due to just budgetary concerns, we've taken over this signage. So once upon a time, the city's Department of Public Health made semi-permanent signs after every fatal crash. They weren't worded in a way that we loved. And when we had the opportunity, Walk San Francisco started funding the production of these signs. And I can share one with you after. I don't have one right in front of me, but they're like metal corrugated signs. So unless the weather's really awful, they will last, or unless someone decides they want to vandalize it or take it down, which I don't think has happened, they'll last, at least a few months, and they can last, quite a while if they don't get soaking wet. So other advocates on our team have asked, can we do something more permanent? And it's an ongoing discussion. I'd really love to do something more permanent. I can also share that in Los Angeles, there is a project called Rainbow Halo. And there was the Department of Transportation partnered with, they have like an art component, like an artist component. I don't know exactly how this developed, but they created these beautiful memorials that are like glass. They sort of have glass in different colors. And below that, a piece of signage acknowledging a fatal crash. So while you stand there, you're like bathed in this multicolored light, and they are quite permanent. I'm sure they're pretty expensive, but it's worth taking a look at. Like if you just look up Rainbow Halo Project, and again, I'm happy to find the person who shared that. There's an advocate down in Los Angeles. So ongoing project, but I do think it's really important to have visible signs of where these things occur. Also, I will add that whenever we do put up a sign, I end up talking to community members, even if it's just me out there. People have a lot to say. So it's a really worthwhile endeavor.
Thank you, Allie. Appreciate it.
I might interject briefly. I just wanted to also say that I agree. Yeah, the signs where people were killed, that's really a big deal. I noticed recently like that along at Palm and Bullard, where over 6 months ago now, we had about 3 people killed in a traffic collision, and recently the memorials disappeared. And so that's something that just kind of like boggles my mind, and how like in a way like eventually the memorials go away, and then people generally like in the public eye forget that these accidents keep happening over and over again. And so, which is why, yeah, that's like, we need to make sure that like, that they stick around, so we have the reminder that yes, people died here.
Any other questions from the members for Allie before we move on here?
I just wanted to thank you again, Allie, for your time and your presentation. And we do look forward to Jesse's presentation next month. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. And again, share your questions with me. I'm happy to support a Families for Safe Streets chapter if you decide you want to do that.
Thank you, Ally.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much. Be well.
Appreciate it. Moving on, we have our task force reports. Our semi-annual report task force, Jill and Susan, right? Is that what it is? Jill and Susan?
I will say we were planning to take the semi-annual report to council tomorrow, but they pulled it. So hopefully I'm getting it on the August 19th agenda. They want me to add some more, the administration wants some more text or more clarification added on the charter and whatnot. So I'm working on that, and hopefully it'll be on the 19th of, I think it's the 19th of August.
Okay. And Susan's on with you on that. Was she working on you on that still or no? I don't remember who. I don't remember who was on the task force.
She did all the attachment work. Yeah. So she provided me all the info and I just put it in the format.
So Jill and Susan on that one. Okay. Anything else?
I don't know if Susan has anything.
Cool. Susan, do you have anything?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Our budget task force for 22, I guess that's 22, 23, right? Jill, right?
Yes, to start thinking about
I don't remember.
that and thinking about next year already.
Yeah, and I don't remember who was on that
I don't think
task force. Or did
It's
we make
me,
anyone?
you, and Laura.
No, that was the previous one we just finished. That was
Oh,
our
okay.
previous.
Yeah.
So now we have to have a new one. Depending on when we want to create it, we can wait like another month or so, but I think we can try, or I don't know, how fast do we need to create it, Jill? Should we just create it now or try?
Well, it's up to you guys. I don't want to get down into June again or May. I mean, I'd like to have it done. And the ideas floated around before.
I would say let's wait till we hopefully have a full meeting as well with Laura before we talk about it. Let's kind of give it a month to breathe, and then let's get back into it next month or September. Melanie, go ahead.
Did our last one did that one get approved? Or are we waiting on that still for?
I haven't seen it. Someone was going to send that to the list to me.
21, 22, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's why we put it on the agenda, so
think-
we could
yeah, I
actually
think-
vote on it this meeting.
No, we voted on last meeting to give it to Jill, but Jill was waiting, I think, for me to formally send it to you in an email or something, and I haven't been able to do it. But I think the items are in the. Are the items in these last minutes or the minutes previous that we all agreed to? This is June.
They're in the last, the May, the June minutes.
They are in the June minutes. Okay, so let me read those and then I'll send them over and officially submit that to you, Jill. Okay, I will. I promise. Remind me. Do something. I don't know. So. Look, let's finish that up, and then next month or September, let's put together the next task force for 22-23. So that's good to go. Okay, so our PSA task force, I don't remember who was on that one, if we're done with that one or not. I don't remember who's on that. Was that you, Melanie?
I don't remember. I don't think I was on it. I was kind of involved with it though. I think sorry, son's playing piano right now. I think we were trying to come up with a date to start filming for the Hawks, for staff, or not staff, talent, kids, families to do that. I didn't hear back from Kyle. I had kind of volunteered you, Phil, and I think Laura, because Laura has small children, and I have one small child and one middle school child. But I can circle back with Kyle to see if there's a date that he wants to shoot for us to do the filming of that.
Okay, sounds good. Just keep us, I guess, posted on that one.
And then depending on if that budget gets approved and we get funding for actually placement of the Sharrow's ad, that would, we can start looking for placement on that ad.
We asked for, but we asked, and then we have the other ones that we're trying to create as well.
And I don't know, Jill, if we had any chance to talk with City of Fresno communications team about any earned media opportunities where we can place that ad by chance for free.
I haven't had a specific conversation about earned media type of of stuff, but we did have some conversations with the mayor's office and their communications people about public works in general, just getting more out there on social media. And I did mention that we did have some PSAs that we were working on or had done and that we'd like to get those out. So once we get going on that stuff, we'll for sure get it out to internal staff to get it posted and see where we can go from there.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay, so there's that. That's good with that one. Anything else on the PSA task force? Oh, good. Vision Zero task force well, we're doing something with that next month, right, guys? Is that correct?
Well, yeah, but to be clear though, I just wanted to make it clear. While Jesse Minster-Roth, he did, to be clear on his availability though. I know we were saying before August, I was under the impression that his availability wasn't until September. So.
Oh, did you tell him September?
Well, that's what our email communications was. I was just a little surprised to hear everyone saying August and not September. So I just wanted to clear that up briefly. So between now and then.
I don't see
She
a
could have
problem.
just misspoke. You should just check.
Yeah. Anyway, as for the other part of our task force, we were going to be meeting again, I guess, and at least once between now and the next meeting to go over more. May possibly meet with Jesse to plan things out for the presentation. And
I have a suggestion that you guys, not only with this thing right here with the what was it, the Walk San Francisco thing, but the task force maybe sends a letter to all the members and the mayor's office to come to that meeting for Vision Zero. I would invite every single one of their offices to say, hey, this is what this is basically what BPAC is working on for the next year. And we're starting in August, or if it can't be till September, whatever. But I would definitely suggest, hey, FYI, this is what we're talking about. We'd love to have you or your staff there.
all right.
This presentation.
Thank you, Phil. We will definitely do that. Also, our plan is that we can have Jesse potentially present in front of City Council once we get the presentation for our group here at BPAC. And if there are City Council members that are unable to attend that evening, then for sure we'll be able to.
Sure, and what we want to do is what we want to do is hear it here first in our committee, and then perfect it before we take any presentation over to the council. And I think the council would come with more weight in what we're doing is if we present it, and then maybe we have, him there as a reference. But
Definitely,
if we bring
the
the
plan.
presentation, right? That way, obviously we're making sure they know we're doing the work on this. So, but yeah, let's get it perfected. Let's find out what it is, and then the task force can put together its own presentation, or something very similar, so that if we're interested, and it can make it to council to let them know here's what we're working on. Look, I don't know, like Jill said, we're doing the semi-annual report next month. That would have been a good time to I think it might be a good time to bring it up that, like, hey, we're working on this and we're going to bring this presentation onto you soon. This is this is the future for the next 6 months. So I think that's something we should definitely do. All right, moving on. If there's nothing to discuss on the task force. So it was brought to our attention by Jill that the council chambers is open to the public. It looks like, at least for right now, I mean, we got this Delta variant, but as of right now, council chambers is open, and that means going possibly, well, I think there will be space for us to meet together in person, as we did before COVID. So I guess the discussion is right now, before we vote on how we go moving forward, is just discussing our options. Do we want to keep it all online? Do we want to move forward to all in person? Or I believe Jill said there is an opportunity for a hybrid. So obviously that encourages more participation in the public and members especially for members creating a quorum. So I guess everybody's thoughts right now, because as of right now, I mean, we have an opportunity next month as a committee to meet in person. So I guess just open it up, kind of.
As of right now, because the things are starting to close down again, I wonder if we should at least wait one more month digitally to see what's going to go on. Melanie could probably speak to that more, but that's what I was thinking. Watching the Central Coast news here, they're talking about putting masks on everybody inside or out, whether they're vaccinated or not, and starting to close things down again. So you might want to think about that.
So yeah, the recommendation right now from CDC is to wear masks even if you're vaccinated, especially if you're in high transmission areas. And that, I think, is where people are kind of leaving it up to the local jurisdictions to make a call. I can tell you that our Board of Supervisors does not plan on implementing anything in this county. They're not going to implement any masking policies, but Dr. Voris certainly recommends wearing a mask even if you're vaccinated, because the Delta variant is surging. So on Monday, I think we had 60 in the ICU, and today there was over 100 in the ICU. Upwards of 80% of those people are vaccinated. I can't tell you if they're all Delta variant or not right now. They're just COVID positive. So the numbers are not trending in a way that we like. As far as shutdowns, again, I don't think there's the political will to do that, but certainly everyone needs to use their own judgment. I can tell you the county as an employer has not done a return to work order yet. In fact, they're looking at expanding our telework policy longer because of the situation. And they are also watching the numbers. So if the numbers continue to rise, then the county as an employer will extend the telework options. But that being said, our Board of Soups meets in person too. So it's kind of hard to say. I think, go ahead.
The city of Fresno, obviously the council's still meeting in person.
They all have the things, they have the dividers though. Mm-hmm.
They have the dividers. They are masked, at least in the building, I'm sure. Jill's there, Scott's there, Andrew's there. How is it looking? Is there any talk of not continuing in person or closing down City Hall anytime soon because of this Delta?
I have not heard any discussion on that. I think everything's happening again pretty fast and day by day. So I've also been on vacation. So cool. I don't know. I don't know if Andy, if he's paying attention, if he knows anything more or has heard anything, but I haven't heard that anything necessarily is changing. But
the current rules at City Hall are that if you're vaccinated, you do not have to wear a mask. You have to bring in your vaccination card and get a stamp on either your hand or your ID card if you're a city employee. So if you're unvaccinated, we're requiring masks for employees 8 hours a day and for the public also.
So if we were to meet in person again, we would have to bring our vaccination cards and show them in the front and get stamped. Is that correct?
Or wear a mask.
Or wear a mask. Okay. Or you could do both, whatever.
Or both, that's right.
Or do both, whatever you want to do. Now, I believe the room that we were in last time, from what I remember, we were all pretty spaced out from what I remember anyway, the way it was structured. So there's that. Look, City Hall is open. The public is available to go back in. So that's where we stand. The question is, as a committee, what do we want to do? Do we want to do the hybrid? Do we want to stay online, or do we want to go completely back in person? And I guess we can vote on each one and see which one comes out. There's not enough of us to vote, we can have a discussion. And obviously, we haven't heard from Matthew or Destiny or Susan yet. So I would say, let's hear from those three. Let's take a vote on each one, and whichever one comes on, that's what we do. However, I would limit whatever motion that we do to a month at a time right now. Because if we do decide to do like, okay, we're going to go back in person in August, like everything can change in 30 days. There's a lot that can change in 30 days. We might not even be able to go back in 30 days, but let's just say we vote to do it. But when we get back in person, if it's uncomfortable for us, I would say let's vote at that time to do either hybrid or just completely online. So maybe whatever motion that whoever brings up is like, at least for the August meeting, we'll meet in person, we'll do hybrid, or we won't go in, and then we'll go from there. So Matthew, Destiny, Susan, chime in if you'd like.
Well, I am personally more in favor of the hybrid, but that is just for me for over the next 6 months, so, and that's easy enough for me to do, and I can still interact with everyone.
And as far as the time frame, we could even do a motion for the next 6 months as well. I mean, I was just trying to keep it smaller, so we can change our minds. But if we end up picking the hybrid and it's like, well, let's do the hybrid for like 6 months, I think that's doable. We could even do in person for 6 months until they kick us out if this Delta variant, decides to whatever. So I don't know. Maybe there doesn't need to be a time frame or a time frame attached to it. I don't know. What Destiny and Matthew, what do you guys think?
I'm open to hybrid, and I am vaccinated, but I would still wear a mask just because of everything that I'm seeing. So that's just my personal preference.
Yeah, and we're not asking you. I mean, look, I don't think this vote is about like who's going to wear a mask, who's not going to wear a mask, or a vaccination. It's just literally how are we going to meet. You're going to go however you're comfortable going, whether you're in a full hazmat suit or you just go completely, you're fine because you're.
Don't tempt me, Phil. I can get one.
That would be great to see Stephen in a hazmat suit. How about you, Matthew? Any thoughts or any?
I would say that although I really do miss like meeting in person, just because, hey, I never got to do that as a member of BPAC, but I would prefer just to go with like a hybrid approach and then just like still meet from a distance and stuff like that. And on top of that, I mean, I was pulling it up like the previous week, apparently like in the Mercury News, which is a newspaper in San Jose, they've got a data reporter who's now reporting weekly on where California would be right now if the coronavirus tiers would still be in place.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were still in place, about 36 counties would be in purple right now. Mm-hmm. Fresno County, for reference, would be in the red tier. And so you can...
I don't know which one's bad or good. I don't know the reference.
The purple's the worst.
Okay, purple's the worst. All
and
right.
So red would be the second worst, meaning okay. I think either of those cases, we wouldn't be meeting, if the tier system was still in place.
So how should we do the motion? Should we do the motion for like the next 6 months, the next month? Should we not even attach a frame and just say, hey, for the month of August? I mean, I don't know. I mean, what should we do as far as time frame when it comes to taking a vote on this next meeting?
I just think
we should just do it for the next meeting.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to do anything long term. And personally, while I know there's a huge advantage to meeting in person, I actually am not really in favor of meeting in person at this time until we have a better idea of which way the numbers are trending. Not that I don't trust any of you guys that you're doing the things that you're supposed to do, but I also have one unvaccinated child in my home because he's too young to get a vaccine. My husband works in a hospital, so I mean, like it's just it's a personal thing. And for me, while hybrid is nice, I feel like if we're going to meet in person, we should meet in person, because if you meet half and half, the person that's online always gets the short end of the deal because there's conversations happening in the room that they can't participate in. So I would rather us just go month to month. And at this point, I vote to continue to meet. As for August, I vote for that to be an online meeting. That would be my motion if I was going to make a motion.
Okay, so let's figure this out before somebody throws out a motion. I mean, I guess if we just we don't have to vote on all three. I guess if we want to vote on one and if somebody wants to make a motion for another one and the other one, then we can, or we just
But we just keep
somebody-
status quo and table it until,
What's that?
how about we just keep status quo and table it?
I mean, that's up to, yeah, I mean, well, I mean, we can just vote to keep it online. I mean, or we just, yeah, I mean, that we either vote to keep it online or we do hybrid or whatever, just to keep our options open. The problem with the hybrid is too, let's just say this, if we do the hybrid and none of us go, Jill has to like reserve that room just in case, just in case Laura shows up by herself there. Right. So, I mean, I think the all or nothing is probably the way to go at this time. So I still would like to have a motion to vote at least which way we're going to go. And whoever wants to make a motion to either stay online or to go in person or to just keep the status quo, stay online. I guess those two, I don't even think we need to think about a hybrid because of that. I mean, Jill has to stay there. Everybody has to stay there just in case somebody, or at least the room has to be configured and they have to keep it open just in case. And also if it is also open, anyone from the public can pop in too. So there's that as well. So yeah, somebody make a motion to do something with this meeting. Since we want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Well, we could stay online like we've been doing through, 2021 here, and relook at this in January.
Well, I think what Melanie was saying, that like we could just do it month to month, and if things are looking better next month, which I don't know how that happens, but let's just say it does, we can decide, hey, let's take a vote to go back in person. That way we're on the same page, right? Because the hybrid, obviously, I don't think is going to work. We're not council members. This is not a council where they have the resources to do it. We really don't. So and the time. So I don't know. I mean, whether you want to do it month to month or you want to do it through the end of the year, it's whoever wants to make the motion is completely, whatever, because I can't make it. So.
Okay, I'll make the motion. I motion that we stay as all online for our next meeting,
August 2021, right?
August 2021 meeting, and then we can reevaluate at the next meeting.
Okay, that's the motion that Stephen has. Who would like to second that motion?
I'll second it.
Perfect. Just so we're on the same page, Susan, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Yeah, just a second. So the motion is
discussion too. Sorry. If anyone
to
has.
stay as all online for August 2021 and decide at the next meeting.
And decide at that meeting, depending on the circumstances of what the circumstances of the virus in the county and how everything's going. We'll decide how we'll meet in September.
What we'll do for September.
Correct.
Okay, so Matthew.
Yes.
Let's see. 3, Destiny.
Yes.
6, Stephen.
Yes.
Me is a yes. Melanie.
Yes.
And me.
Phil.
Yes. So it's unanimous. We'll stay online
Okay.
through at least August, and then we'll.
Oh, who seconded that?
Melanie seconded it.
Okay, Melanie did.
The other thing that I came up with in our meeting, which is our next item, is our meeting schedule. So we only have, and I shouldn't say only have, but we do have 1 month of the year that we do not meet. And I think that's about, I don't know, Jill, if that coincides with the council schedule as well. Do they also not meet one time, or do they take a summer break as well?
It depends on who the council president is and how the schedule gets formed. For the last, I don't know how many years, we've chosen as the BPAC group to combine the November and December meetings because it's the 4th Wednesday of the month and it falls on the night before Thanksgiving in November.
As of right now, we basically skip a month in November. And we meet in early December, and then we don't meet again until late January again. So it's about a month and a half of no meetings at that point. I had kind of thought about adding a summer break as well. It just like after the budget's passed, we don't meet in July and we come back again in August. I was thinking about that, but Jill said something like, I don't know if that's possible because in our charter, we can't do that. We have to meet every month. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying in that meeting?
Well, the charter says to meet every month, or I think it says that you shall meet, but I guess if we want to vote to not meet a month.
Or we can vote to meet as the council president chooses as well. So if the council president says, hey, we're not going to meet in the middle of July for whatever reason. We've done our budget stuff. Let's enjoy the summer, well, at least a month, and then we'll come back in August. Or we just say, hey, let's just add another break. I know for us that has kids, I know Laura does, I know Melanie does, I know, I do. I don't, I'm not sure Destiny, no kids, okay, Destiny. Summer's a big time for us. And I'm sure in future future meetings, there'll be members with kids as well. Having 1 month off, I don't think would kill us. So that was my idea. It was just saying, hey, we passed the budget. Let's just take July off and let's regroup in August. But I think that's what we talked about, right, Melanie, or how that was going to work, something like that.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it, and I think it's a good thing to talk about. So I think we should talk about it and see what everyone thinks.
Yeah,
because I know there have been motions to have more meetings than once a month, and so I would be interested to hear what my peers have to say. Because inevitably sometimes we miss a meeting, and that happens, and that's usually okay when we have other obligations like Laura's missing tonight, and that's fine. Does it mean, we cancel a whole meeting? I don't know. So I don't know if anyone else has any opinions on that.
Feel free. The floor is open.
Well, I know that before I became a member, and Nick was the in charge of the BPAC. He did cancel and he's here, he could probably speak to this. He did cancel it was a July or August meeting, and it was because he knew that, there was a lot going on and he didn't have particular items for an agenda. Mm-hmm. So, I think he did that as the, chairperson type of thing.
And canceling a meeting is different than just not scheduling a meeting, right? We don't want to cancel a meeting if we're all thinking that we're going to have one, because we don't know if we're going to have enough. Look, we know that we're going to have enough to do every month, at least on some of these fixed items that we do, whether we have more presentations or whatnot. I think if we just know, July, no meeting, as opposed to canceling a meeting. And obviously the committee is also just structured different this time as well. So I think I'd be more, unless there's a catastrophe or there's something very tragic or certain circumstances, I don't ever like canceling a meeting. I just rather not have one scheduled for one. So Matthew, go ahead. I think you were going to say something.
I just want to note that Tony has his hand raised in the chat.
Yeah, we'll get to the public, but I want to make sure the members have their say. So anybody else?
Yeah, I'll add to the conversation. I just started, but I mean, it is summertime. I don't have children, but I understand about having unscheduled meetings during the summer. So I'm open to that as well. Just putting it out there.
Okay. Anything else, Matthew or Stephen?
I'm retired and I just set my schedule and try not to put anything on these days. But obviously that didn't work because I'm in the Tascadero today. So
Yeah. Okay. But this is like I mean, I don't know if we want to make this a precedent or like, is this something that it gets voted on with every different chair, or do we try to like make this an actual like part of our bylaws? And if that's the case, then maybe we have to have a completely different meeting and a committee set up with that. Or do we just say, you know, as I'm the chair right now, as long as, you know, Phil's the chair, every July we will have off. Because if it goes into our bylaws, then I think that's a different discussion. That's a whole different ballgame.
it would have to depend really on what it says in our charter. Does it say shall meet or may meet? That wording could be a big difference there.
Bill says shall.
I believe it says shall.
Then you can't really do it theoretically.
Theoretically.
Hey, I used to be a big union person. Shall we hit the state over the head with that all the time?
Yeah, no, and completely. I understand. It was just an idea that, you know, especially, you know, for those of us who do have children, and this summertime is a play. And Jill was on vacation too recently too. You know, coming back and coordinating things for a meeting in the middle. Of course, I don't want to miss any meetings, but I think it could be open-ended. So I don't know. Anyone else have any questions or comments about what we should do? I mean, should we just make it more formal and make it and do a bylaw committee meeting to just review our bylaws, and at that point, or do we move to do it while I'm chair, if that's what we want to do? And again,
I'd rather not change the bylaws. I think if you as the chair want to use your authority to say, you know, this coming year we're not going to have a meeting in whatever month, you know, I think we could vote on that and go along with that, because we do that for November, right? We say we're not going to have one in November.
So then this conversation's moot, because there's no guarantee that I will be chair next year as well. So we've already missed the window. So if it was,
but people don't only take vacations in the summertime either, though. So I mean, there's that argument to be made. What if I take a vacation in, you know, September and I miss the meeting? It's okay, because it's just one meeting that I'm going to miss.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like we always have a packed agenda. We rarely get out early, rarely. So I just don't know.
Or do we just table it and say, you know what, we're just going to meet every month, but November?
As the chair, you also have the power to say, hey, we're not going to meet this third week. We're going to meet the second week because I'm going to Disneyland with the kids. I'm just going to like it.
I don't know. I don't know if we can change it, right, Jill? I don't think we can change the date of the meeting.
I think in the charter it says the fourth meeting, or the fourth Wednesday, or whatever, the fourth of every month. I'd have to get some opinions on that, but I mean, I wouldn't go changing the schedules drastically, because you come into this group knowing that you're going to meet every month on the fourth Wednesday. You know what you're kind of getting into. You know what you're agreeing to. And
so to be honest, look, I mean, I think that after this discussion, maybe just tabling it. And if we don't, if whoever is the chair decides, hey, I don't want to meet in April, like, we just cancel the meeting in April. If that's what we can do, like, we don't have enough stuff, we don't really have any speakers, let's just cancel them, because that we are able to do, right, Jill? We're just able to cancel a meeting. Is that correct?
I mean, I think so. If you don't have a quorum, you don't have anything to talk about, I think, yes. I would, if you're going to go changing the schedules though, I would do it once a year at the beginning of the year, whatever, that's a fiscal year, that's the calendar year, and you're setting that schedule for the year.
I think this is
You're not doing it month by month saying, well, I might not meet next month because.
I think this is the bylaw discussion. I really do. I think we have to go through the bylaws and we have to figure out what the actual schedule is, or if we can amend it. And I think it's going to be bigger than this meeting. So I think I'm okay with tabling it and we just continue on as we are. Obviously we do have to have a bylaws meeting at some point to change, to kind of go comb through that. We do have bylaws, right? Jill, or online or something like that. I think we do have some, right?
Yeah, I think the charter and whatnot is online.
Yeah, okay. So I'm okay with that. But before we actually physically table it, let's listen to Tony. Go ahead. Tony.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that reading from the charter says the advisory committee shall meet a minimum of 11 times a year. So you could change it to a different time. You could have 2 meetings in 1 month. It doesn't say when the meeting could be held. But during my tenure, if I couldn't attend, I would just kind of, ask my vice chair to.
But I don't think it really doesn't have anything about like me not wanting to attend or whoever the chair is not wanting to attend. It's just giving everybody just some time off, like done. Like we know we're not going to meet. We don't have to worry about it. Let's pick it up next year or next month. That's really what it's about. But if it is about like, if we're going to keep everything the same, if it says 11 months and if I'm not chair next year and it's like, if it's Laura or something like that, she could say, well, I'm just not going to show up. I got to go on vacation. Of course, the vice chair can step in and do it. So it was just there's that. So I think we're going to table this because I think it's a bigger discussion than we anticipated. If that's all right. So can we, because since we were going to vote on this, can somebody make a motion to table this item?
Motion to table.
Stephen, here's a second.
Second.
Who was first?
Who was the second?
No, who was the?
Matthew was first, Stephen was second.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Anyone?
Matthew is throwing his voice.
Yeah, no one, anyone opposed to tabling it? Cool, we'll table it. Let's go. Let's continue on. Officer Bella, I believe. Is he the, he's the 6773 number.
I think you *6 to unmute when you're on the phone, I think.
He did it. I saw it go off, but then it went back on. Or I saw it, it's red now, but I saw it go gray. There it is.
There it goes.
There you did.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yes.
I had to run that *6 a couple of times. It didn't work the first time, sorry. Hello, everyone. So I'm gonna have to go back to June, Phil, when you mentioned that collision at Elm and Geneva.
Oh, the one out
actually,
there. You thought it was county or CHP, right?
Right. That actually was our collision. The reason why it was not on our log is because the person didn't pass yet. They were in the hospital. That's why I didn't see it, and I wasn't able to get the information off the log from it. And then I didn't talk to the detectives because it didn't appear on there. So unfortunately, that individual did pass. So that collision did become our investigation that occurred on June 11th. That was a Friday at 3:02 p.m. That was the Elman south of Geneva. Adult female pedestrian entered the roadway into the intersection on a red light in front of a vehicle southbound on Elm. The pedestrian was eastbound when she was struck in the number 2 lane after leaving the curb line. The driver fled the scene. It was a hit and run, but has been identified by our Fresno Police Department hit and run detectives, and a warrant has been issued for that individual's arrest. We're in the process now with that warrant process. That one did happen during daylight hours. We've had one since the last meeting regarding just a pedestrian. We had no cyclists. We've had other fatalities, but only one in comparison to what we've had in the past. So that was July 10th, 2021. That was late at night, 11:55 p.m. And that was Shields east of Channing. It was adult male pedestrian in the roadway is going to be the primary collision factor. The pedestrian was standing in the center double turn lane. It was at night. The individual was struck by a truck that was westbound on Shields, who also fled the scene after the collision. The evidence at the scene does show that there was some drug paraphernalia on the part of the pedestrian. There is a pending toxicology report on the pedestrian, and the hit and run detectives were able to get subject in custody for the hit and run violation. I do have some regular statistics that I ran, a non-fatal 2020 versus 2021 regarding pedestrians and cyclists. So regarding pedestrian collisions, we had 92 from January through June of 2020, and that same time for this year, we've had 82. So it has dropped. Regarding bicyclist collisions, January 2020 through June of 2020, we had 38, and the same so far for this year. We are currently operating our pedestrian and bicycle operations. We just had one, and then for September, we're going to have the Office of Traffic Safety Pedestrian Awareness Month. So we're going to have another one for September. You guys have any questions?
Do you know in which communities you're going to have those bike operations or those pedestrian operations?
Those will be citywide. They go all over the city, and we generate geo mapping collision data for the officers to look at. Whenever there's those operations are in place, we have pedestrian collision and bicycle collision, basically mapping system with pins on it that they can refer to. They're aware of, they're working every day, and they do know where those collisions are occurring anyway, but they can use that data to assist them, and they of course will focus on those locations, but generally they're citywide.
Officer, in that last thing, what was the main citation that was issued? What was the most popular citation?
I'm trying to go off of, I put out a press release for that, and I'm trying to go off of memory right now. I know the most citations we wrote were 2 pedestrians by far. I'm not sure what the vehicle code section was. I don't want to give you any wrong information. I can pull up the press release. It would take me a little while. I did.
That's okay. I think I know where it is on Facebook. I was just curious. I just
right
off the top of your head. There was
off the top of my head.
So mostly pedestrians not obeying the crosswalk signals.
Right, pedestrian and roadway not obeying the pedestrian signal heads, not obeying the no pedestrian signs. And by far the pedestrians themselves receive more tickets than the bicyclists or cars.
Any other questions for Officer Billy at this time?
You expect those citation numbers to go down if the Idaho stop bill passes here in California?
Are you referring to for the cyclists that don't have to stop for a stop sign?
Wait, no, sorry, I named the wrong bill there. The one where it decriminalizes jaywalking at
Well, jaywalking we rarely write jaywalking tickets.
okay.
That's not going to have any impact, really. No.
I was going to say, that's a
If
different
I-
vehicle code section. That's different than disobeying lights.
Correct. Yeah, jaywalking is its own separate violation. Jaywalking is a little complicated, and there's not too many locations in the city where we can enforce jaywalking. It has to be, the jaywalking has to be where an individual crosses the roadway between two intersections that are controlled by signals, and no other intersections that exist between those two locations.
So think Tulare between P and O. Or
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
between N and O. So that stretch of
Yeah,
Tulare.
M Street between Fresno and Tulare, unless you use the Mariposa signal, if you cross anywhere in there, that's a jaywalking. But there's only certain locations like that that have that.
We're putting in a traffic signal at Q Street, which is right on the City Hall side of the tracks, the railroad tracks on Tulare Street, and that won't be jaywalking because we've got Santa Fe in between P Street and Q Street. So that's not a jaywalking area because you have an intersection in between those two.
I'm hoping next time I'm going to report 0.
We hope so too.
Any other questions for Officer Billy? Well, thank you, Officer, for joining us and giving us that update. We'll see you next month.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Next up is Jill. I think Jill and staff is the rest of the way. Oh, yeah, and the big one is at the very end. Atp Coordinator.
Yep, so we have the work plan. It was attached. Nick, I did get your message. Tulare, the cycle track, Scott can correct me if I'm wrong, I think is between Tulare and Hazelwood. The upcoming project, is that correct? I didn't have the limits on there. But if you have questions on any of the projects, I updated it. I pulled off completed projects from fiscal year 2021, and these are our new projects. As always, if you have questions on any of the projects on the work plan, let us know and we'll try to get somebody in. Susan, I know you asked for somebody from the Midtown Trail to come and talk. They told me they would either be at the August or the September meeting. They had to pull back, I guess, and do some redesign of something. I wasn't quite sure what he was talking about, but he told me he could come to one of those 2 meetings. I don't remember what it is. So it's not forgotten or ignored.
I appreciate that.
Anybody have any questions on the work plan?
Not this time, no, I don't.
From the public?
What about Scott? Your grants? If we don't have any more questions in the work plan.
Did you guys replace Shelby yet?
No, we have not.
It's all up to Scott.
Well, I put that on there. I just put his name next to mine so that I don't feel so overwhelmed. We are working on 2 separate sets of applications. One is CMAQ, which is the Congested Mitigated Air Quality funding, and the other one is STBG, which is Sustainable Transportation Block Grant or something like that. One's due in September and the other one's due a couple weeks later at the beginning of October. At our next meeting, we will have presented the list of potential projects to the council, and we will bring them to you guys also, so you can see what is being proposed for each of those applications, and we will be asking for letters of support at that time. So just a heads up. I think CMAQ is due the 19th or the 17th of September. And like I said, the STBG is maybe the first of October. I can't remember. So working through that right now.
Thank you. Jill, we already have our update on the annual report to the council, which looks like it'll be August 19th now.
That's what I think that's the next date that I'm hoping to. I've got to find some information to put into the
anything
report.
from us? Do you need anything from us, or because you said they wanted some clarification or anything like that? So okay, you're good.
Yeah, there was some discussion about charter, and I'm trying to look for some history on the charter and staff reports from 2002 to see if I can add a little bit more into it, but not finding a whole lot at this point.
All right. Well, if you need anything from us, let us know. The last thing is the ATP coordinator, which is, you know, I forgot to, and this is my fault, and I'll let everybody do this at the very end, kind of do their member report if they have anything to report. So we'll kind of make it into an announcement at the very end. Everybody will go through all the members if they have anything to say about their member report or announcement. We'll do that. But this ATP coordinator thing as well, I met with the mayor last Monday on the 19th, and at least what he told me, and I'm sure Joe could back this up at this time, it looks like we're going to start the process next month, right? And then he said it should be done by October.
I think in the past, we've always kind of waited until October to start the processes, but I think this time we have, you know, new administration, new just new management staff at different departments. So I think we're going to start earlier and try to have somebody in at the beginning of October.
Yeah, that's what he told me, because I thought October. I said, oh, you know, we're going to get this started in October or whatever. And he's like, no. Like, we're going to start next month and we'll have it done by October. I'm like, oh, that's even better. So that's great.
That said, I think they're doing that with all of the new positions this year across the city. So we are still waiting to get that process going. We have not begun recruiting or anything yet. So we're still working on that. What I wanted to throw out there, I know there's been a lot of interest in the ATP coordinator from this group. When we get to the point where we are actually doing the interviews, if somebody from the group would like to be on the interview panel and be able to commit to all that entails, meeting probably my schedule or Andy's schedule, coming in person to interview for that, providing a question. I don't know. If there would like to have some involvement, you know, that's a discussion that
you have an action. I mean, you have basically a general like time frame of dates and times that this is going to be done, or is it going to be just kind of sporadic? Like one week it might be Monday or Wednesday, and the next week like Friday and Saturday or Friday and Thursday. Just because obviously that would be.
Yeah, it's going to be a commitment on somebody. They're going to have to be flexible. They're going to have to adhere to staff's scheduling. The last interviews that we did for a position, I will tell you, we had an interview from 9 to 10 on a Tuesday. We came back and did one from 1 to 2. On Wednesday, we might have done from 9 to 11, and then from 4 to 5. Then we skipped Thursday and Friday. And we came back the next week. So it's
I'm going to volunteer Steven since he's retired.
Yeah. There is a commitment on it. You know, that's probably not going to be normally probably not going to be a nice chunk of time. That's probably going to be convenient.
How far in advance would we know?
Well, you would know probably. Well, you know, it depends. Sometimes we schedule them a week in advance. Sometimes it's it just depends on what we can
Okay.
do. Sometimes we have to go farther out in our calendars because we just really don't have time to get things in. So
When
once
do you
we
need
get
to know from us, like who that person's going to be?
well, like I said, we haven't started yet, so
Okay.
it's going to take us probably up until next meeting to get the recruitment out, to get things moving along. So, maybe by next meeting, if anybody's interested, I'm thinking one person, but it really is a time commitment. It's you can't miss. We have to have the same people on the panel for every person that interviews. We can't have Matthew on one and Stephen on another, or Matthew not show up for one or Stephen not show up for his interview because they couldn't make it, a dentist appointment or something. It's got to be the same.
Yeah.
It's very structured. It's government. We got to ask the same questions.
Yeah.
We gotta be fair. So if if you guys want to think about that and get back to it, by the next meeting.
What do you guys think is the best way to go about that? Do we need to vote for a member? Do we just want to volunteer? Do we want to, I don't know. What do you think?
Can we just ask who would be interested in potentially being a part of that panel at this point? Not knowing what the schedule is, but who would be interested in it?
Well, let me go around the little circle I have here. Destiny, are you interested?
I don't have capacity, but thank you.
Melanie?
If my schedule permits, sure, but I just don't know that it'll permit. I think I'll have to wait and see, but I would be interested.
Okay. Stephen?
Yeah, I'd be interested. As long as I have a little bit of leeway, I can leave my schedule open and not schedule anything.
You're retired. You don't have a schedule. No, I'm just joking. I remember when my mom retired, she got busier somehow. I don't know how that works.
Well, I am trying to run a small business too.
Business,
so,
No, that's good. Matthew?
I would say right away, take me out of the running because by the time you were saying you're probably only going to start advertising the position like past August, and that's when I'm going to start classes at Fresno State. And on top of that, apparently I am going to have an internship here in the planning department with the city.
Okay.
So my schedule is going to become very, very packed.
Okay, sounds good. All right, Matthew. Thank you for letting us know. Susan?
I would be interested, but it really depends on the time frame. I mean, in September, I might have a little bit more leeway.
And Jill, I think you should reach out just because you would have more about it. Just if you can reach out to Laura just to see if she would be interested, since she's not here. Maybe just
and don't forget Lucio.
And yeah,
he's still a member.
He's still a member. I would reach out to those two because you have more information than I do. So if you want to just reach out to them and say we talked about it. Here's the commitment that I need if you're interested.
And the other thing I will add is that they will more than likely be in-person interviews.
In person, okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. Anything else on that one?
No, we're on our end. We're just waiting to start the process, get that position posted, and start getting the resumes and applications in.
Great.
When you do post it, could you email it to us too? Because I'd love to share that with my networks. Great, thank you.
Yep, I will.
All right, so now we completely forgot the member announcements and reports. Let me go around to everybody. Let's start with.
Phil, do you want to go out to the public for just the staff? Any of the staff items? We didn't really go out after each item.
Yeah, I didn't see any hands up. I didn't see any hands up, but
okay.
I'm watching. I'm not seeing any hands up about anything. So.
I do have one question for staff. Do we know when we're going to do our show and tells and let us come visit?
Oh, that was Scott, right? Wasn't that Scott? Isn't that he talked about that last time too? He's still working on it.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, everybody. I am just kind of beyond my ability to put something together formal. I may just end up doing an impromptu kind of learning as I go with somebody instead of trying to plan something before we meet. I need to talk with Phil and Jill about it. So let's say tentatively next month, we'll try to do something. I'll put it on my calendar.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the update. Let's start with Matthew. Any reports, any announcements, anything like that?
So I did my own personal little ride solo along Barstow Avenue, where in District 4, where the bikeway is going to go in, as it was motioned for. I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool, like going along that, because it was like there's all these different locations along the short like stretch where it's going in. You've got a gym, you've got a couple grocery stores, you have Hoover High, you have like 3 or 4 different churches, and not even getting to like Fresno State, which was cool. So I think in my mind that is going to be a great project. I look forward to hearing more and eventually like going on a community ride with this for District 4 eventually. I know Laura's working on that with Fresno State. As for other events, I was happy to attend like one of the County Bike Coalition's first events since COVID. They did a community ride from Chandler Airport to the Kearney Mansion, which was really nice. It's like the first ride I've been to in a while where it's not just like inside people with BPAC or the County Bike Coalition and stuff like that. It was like a good sized number of regular people, like almost a little over 20 or something like that, showed up, which was really nice to see. And so it was great. We got to like a glimpse of the coastal mountains from the path we were on our way down there. And yeah, it was a really nice ride. I hope the Bike Coalition can do more rides like that in the future.
Thank you, Matthew. 3 is who? Destiny. That's right. Go ahead, Destiny.
I don't really have anything to report. I did want to mention that there was a event, and I did share the flyer. Unfortunately, it was a little bit unfortunate for myself because I was not able to attend the event, and it was a community pedestrian and bicycle safety training for West Fresno. And that was on July 20th at 4. And I'm just curious if anybody did attend.
I did. Yes, I attended. Although it was definitely nice to see like some residents attend and like get, heard from with regards to like what places were like safe to walk, weren't safe, and stuff like that. One point that came up was I remember particularly from this one woman, was that like where the Rite Aid is along Fresno Street, apparently like a lot of drivers, they don't wait for someone to leave the intersection. They just drive through. And so this particular woman, she crosses like at mid-block outside of the crosswalk because that's safer for her. I mean that's one example, but so yeah, it was informative. I could tell a lot of people had discussions with different residents, and definitely seemed like a really good event. I'm glad I went.
I'll just add that my team was a part of the planning committee for that event. So Susie Rico Vasquez and her team for CalFresh Healthy Living work on Westside Fresno. And so the real good part is that CalWalks will put together a really beautiful report about the findings from that actual walk audit. And then we'll have documented, exactly what residents are asking for and saying, and we can use that in going to city council and in grant applications for city staff and things like that to support the need for the improvements that we want to see there. So we've done CBBSDs on Kings Canyon. We've done them on Blackstone. We've done them in other cities. We've done them in Fowler and Orange Cove and Sanger. They've really helped us to identify things because the residents are there and they're the ones who are telling us what they want to see. So we should see some really good things come out of that. But if anyone wants to connect with that team, let me know and I can get you connected with them there on the west side.
I was also part of the process with that. I was on that same team. I did not go to the July 20th meeting. I was out of town, but had attended all the other meetings prior to that. And yes, as Melanie said, they will prepare a report at the end, and we will get it. Most of the time we get it. Sometimes some of the groups go out and they don't invite the city, and then we don't ever get a copy of the report. We stumble across it online later, but they are very helpful to hear what the communities have to say. And we've always used them in our grant applications, and they're always very helpful.
Thank you for the update, Destiny. Appreciate it. 4, Laura's not here. 5 is Lucio. 6 is Steve.
Okay, well, I've had some interaction with the Audubon Safety Committee or something regarding the safe accesses into Woodward Park and stuff. And me and Matthew are both invited to a meeting on August 5th down at City Hall regarding discussing about how safe the accesses into Woodward Park are and kind of what the plans are to maybe improve those accesses. Some of the people I talked with had some real realistic ideas, and some of them had some pretty unrealistic ideas. So we'll have to get together and see what we can put together.
Good job. 7, Susan.
I don't have anything, thank you.
Melanie?
Just again, because I do what I do, just make sure we still haven't vaccinated half of the county. I mean, if you take out the people that are not eligible, then yes, we have. But in general, we haven't even vaccinated the entire population of the city of Fresno. So please, if you're not vaccinated, I highly recommend you get vaccinated. And if you have friends or family that are not, please encourage them to do so. We still are fighting an uphill battle right now, and it's really frustrating because everyone, including myself, want things to go back to normal, but they're not going to unless we all do our part. So hopefully we can convince people to get vaccinated. There's lots of reasons why people don't, and it's not just because they're anti-vaxxers. That's not the only reason why people don't get vaccinated. There are certainly reasons out there, but hopefully we have enough evidence and support for there to be access and availability and understanding as to why it's necessary. So please continue to keep your distance, wear your masks, wash your hands. And if you have any kind of symptoms, stay home and isolate yourself and quarantine yourself so that we're not spreading this any more than we have to. But in terms of BPAC, no updates from me.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it, Melanie. Good public service announcement there too. Anyone else have any questions, staff? I already gave my update on meeting with the mayor. It was positive, again, with the his just letting me know what's going to happen with the ATP coordinator. So positive there. Just keep the lines of communication open, which is great. So anyone else have anything else? Well, thank you all for joining us. Everyone in the audience, everyone, I guess we're live too. It looks like we're on YouTube. Is that what we are? This is webinars now streaming on YouTube. Appreciate it. So at this time, let's get a motion to adjourn.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Destiny. Where's the second on that?
Second.
And Steve, he did.
Steve, okay, great. Thanks, Steve. Anyone who doesn't want to leave? All right. So motion to adjourn pass. Everyone.